Hey, everybody. Welcome to Living Your Best Life with DENNISH. I'm DENNISH, and I want to welcome every week that I always do my co-host, Jonathan. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Jamie's going to be sitting this one out this week, so it's going to be Jonathan and I. And before I even start today's show, I just want to ask all of you, how are you doing? How are you feeling? You still spreading the kindness out there? Is everybody being kind to you? And we truly care here at Living Your Best Life. So I just wanted to start the show with asking how everybody's doing. Any thoughts on that?
Good afternoon, Anne.
So today's show, we're going to be talking about three very negative things: the word but, blame, and BS. And there are three negative things, and I'm really hoping by the end of the show, between the two of us here, and for any of you that would like to call in with comments and questions, you'll realize by the end of the show the damage these things can cause for the people in your life, whether it's your family, friends, significant others. And on that note, I'm going to get started with, but my friend years ago, Dave Reynolds, said to me, "You know what the word but means, don't you?" And I said, "Not really." And he said, "Behold the underlying truth." And that's like the best explanation I can find for the word, because it, how did we say it this week? It negates the positive. It's usually a positive followed by the but.
It negates an apology. I'll start with that. I'm sorry, but.
I love you, but.
I hear you, but. I'm listening, but. I mean, it's three little words. I don't even like to use the word but anymore.
I don't either, and I'm very cautious in my writing because I've had a publisher say you need to use the word but. I'm like, you don't understand. I really don't like the word. I'll say the word yet, but I don't like to say the word but. And I've been, because my mom used to say that when we were kids. I love you, but I wish you'd keep your room clean or something. So my sister and I are both the same with the word but, and we've tried very hard not to do that with our own children, because if they did something wonderful, I'm going to tell them that was a great thing you do. Not, but had you done it this way, it would have been better. And that's where behold the underlying truth comes. And I think it's a very, very, very negative word to be used. I know there are times I do use it in my social media post, but it's not.
Go.
What?
You just said but.
But, oh, I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
So, but. I should have said sometimes I use it in my social media post, yet I try very hard not to.
So yet is just the replacement for but it's always good, even if it's a replacement and you're trying to change something and change your speech. I don't want to curse as much, so I work on that.
But you do.
But I do, yet I do. And I don't like to say so and but I start a lot of my thoughts or responses with so, or my thoughts with and even though that's not as negative, it's just not, you want to live your best life, right? So you live your best life by becoming better at everything, or at least trying to become better at as much as you can without being overwhelmed or overwhelming yourself. There I go again. So.
But.
Uh-huh.
I just think that, one of the things with this show, and I've expressed it a million times, we all have, that we're human beings, and we just want everybody to know that's listening to us that we're human. We've been through ups and downs in life, and we truly believe that by sharing our experiences, we can help somebody have a better life or get through a tough time. And believe me, my life is not perfect. It's perfect for me, though I might beg to differ that at the moment, but it's my life, and I am constantly trying to learn about myself, why I'm saying this, feeling this, doing that, because everything begins with you. And I guess that's where the next phase of blame comes in. But puts blame into a situation.
I
So,
can already tell, and maybe I should, or we should clarify. And yes, it's true. All we're doing is sharing our thoughts and our experiences with people, so they know that they are not the only ones, or they may find something similar in their own lives, and realize that everybody's got stuff. Um, we're going to say but, and the avoidance of but, because but is appropriate sometimes.
in certain times it is.
So, so is so, and What we're trying to say and what we're trying to point to is accountability for your actions,
Right.
and how when your back's against the wall and you owe somebody um, an explanation for your behavior, or you need to take accountability for your behavior. You can't, or you shouldn't, because look, you can do whatever you want. We all have free will.
Free will.
So you shouldn't, if you want to.
If you want to live your best life.
If you want to be sincere and live your best life, and you want to live your best life in whatever relationship you're in, because all this has to do with how we relate to one another.
Interaction between human beings.
Yeah, not necessarily.
And a significant, it could be your kids that you know, are constantly blaming your kids for something, or your friends. It could be it's an interaction with another human being, even if it's the cashier at the store that you're blaming for putting something in a different bag that you wanted in a certain bag. I mean, that's what you're talking about.
Whenever you are trying to take accountability, or if you've been called out, look, unless you're going to confession, then you're not gonna call yourself out. But very few people call themselves out, unless their back's up against the wall. You shouldn't say something like, "I'm sorry, but," or "I know I hurt you, but I know I was rude, but." Well, if you were rude, you were rude.
And it's really simple, because this is one of the things. I was actually writing an article that, you know, blame, it's such a negative thing, and I'm going to tell you from the bottom of my heart, blaming will eventually ruin every relationship, and I'm gonna believe that. I will. It's going to ruin every relationship. I don't think there's any healing that can come between two human beings when everything is a blame thing. There's not. I believe that with accountability, there's healing and there's hope. Now, Jonathan called me out on something the other day, and you did call me out on it when I said everything is forgivable. It's not always repairable. And you said to me, let's think about this. And you did say, suppose the person does the right steps, suppose this. And I was thinking about that actually a lot this morning. And I thought a lot of factors, a lot of effort has to go into the repairing of something that you had to forgive. But I always say I'm the optimistic girl, that I never say never, because you never know. But there's got to be certain steps to take in whatever you want. If you have to heal a relationship with your friends, your family, your significant other, you know, your children, there's steps to be taken on both parts, you know, and blame can't be one of them. It's accountability. It's, let me hear what you're saying. I may not agree. And you don't even have to agree. How someone feels is how they feel. That's the bottom line. They're not wrong. And if they're having a feeling that you think is wrong, clear it up, you know?
You can't. You can't. you shouldn't use the word what I was talking about when we were talking about that is everything, almost everything is forgivable if you think about it. I mean, you see people in court whose children were murdered, and they forgive
Right.
the person that did it. That's not repairable. None of us that I know of are capable of bringing somebody back to life.
It's forgivable that they know they have to let go of the anger that they could carry for a lifetime, and that's. I don't want anybody calling in thinking I'm telling them that's easy to do, because I'm not. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just going off your example.
Well, what's repairable? What's a fatal error? A fatal error is one that you can't recover from.
Mm-hmm.
So almost everything is repairable. We talked about you may not want it. You may not want to repair it. I said if your car gets totaled, that means the insurance company says, you know what? Here's the money. Go get yourself another car. However, and believe me, this is true, somebody else will take that broken car and repair it and get use out of it. What it comes down to, and we're getting a little off a butt, and
Yes,
maybe
we
we're
are.
maybe we're going into blame, but what we were talking about was, unless there's a fatal error, everything is repairable. You have to make choices in your life whether it's worth repairing, whether it's worth the emotional cost. You know, we're talking about a car, and there's a actual cost. But when you talk about relationships with people, and like Ann says, whether it's you know the person who put your groceries in the wrong bag, which is why I always bag my own groceries.
I do too.
And I please no, I got this, and they always thank me, and and I feel like telling them, look, I'm doing you a favor, I'm doing myself a favor,
Yes.
because I'm not going to be happy. But is it worth it to you to repair it, or do you let it go? And it starts with that initial conversation after something is broken, because we're talking about things that are broken.
Exactly.
So is it worth repairing? Well, that first conversation is going to be, and it may not be the last conversation. Please, I'm one to talk.
I know.
But it's a but. See, that's where but is appropriate. I'm one to talk, but
But
if the conversation is, I know I hurt you, but, or I know I offended you. It doesn't have to be like an emotional hurt.
you just gave me a good idea on that one. How about reversing the but?
Go ahead. You got me.
Well, instead of starting with the positive,
You start with, but I don't know.
how about that you hurt my feelings, but I really didn't mean to hurt yours back. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because that's almost taking, that's actually a good way to look at it as I'm thinking this through.
It's actually just terrible grammar, but it does make sense. The thought makes
The
sense.
thought, start the thought with the negative.
And so the negative is, I offended you. Just back off
There you
hurt. Just back off hurt for a minute.
Okay,
And let's go with
yeah.
offended, because it's more relatable, or it's more inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody is suffering.
No, and you know, I'm thinking like with my kids, I could say, rather flip it around, say to one of the boys, I didn't like how you spoke to your brother, but I like that you made it up to him and made it right. You're putting the negative first. Here's what was wrong, but here's the positive to follow it.
So here's what was wrong, and here's how to fix it.
Yeah. I'm so sick of life being complicated. I am. Which is why I really wanted to do this show, because I'm really hoping that we touch somebody, that they take a look at it. If you're, you know, we've all been
Excuse me. Keep talking.
we've all been guilty of this at one point or another. All of us.
I got this, Doc. The fan. No, we're good.
What happened?
The fan.
It might be a little bit, yeah. Sorry, it's a little warm in here. I lost my train of thought now. Sorry, our new studio doesn't have air conditioning in it yet. Yet. Sorry, but we don't. But what I was saying is,
I'm back.
through sharing the experiences, if we've all been guilty of using but in the wrong way. We've all been guilty at some point of placing blame where we shouldn't have. And we've all been guilty of using BS to justify all of it. But it doesn't mean you can't come back from that. I always say to people, don't you want to live your best life? What kind of life do you want to live? Some people, you want to live in misery, go ahead. Because misery loves company of another miserable person.
Let me reel you back in because I'm sorry.
I know, you made me lose my train of
I
thought.
know. I'm sorry. I'm a horrible person. See? I'm a horrible person.
But I was
But
trying to cool off the
I was
studio.
trying to make you more comfortable.
Thank you.
That was my reason. So maybe that's an appropriate but, because I was trying to do the right thing. What you started to say before was you want your life to be simple, or you want your life to be less complicated.
You don't need easy. Like Liz Gilbert said in Eat, Pray, Love, I don't need easy. I just need not so hard.
Yeah, but she dumped him.
Well, that was years later, but she meant that in life. I don't need an easy life, just not so hard.
I agree.
What's gained by a super easy life? This is how we grow as people. You have a argument with anybody, that's an opportunity to grow, to discuss it, to communicate, and not to say because you did this or you did that, to say, well, let's talk about it. Where is my accountability? Where is yours? That's why I'm saying an easy life where none of that ever happens. I can't even imagine. That's how people grow and learn and see in themselves. Listen, I've seen a lot of things in myself in the last couple days, and I'm diligently aware of it and doing whatever it takes to change it. It's another life lesson, and that's okay. It's going to get me to an even better place in my life because I'm learning something, and it's going to be something more to share with all of you.
Nothing of value comes easy. So simplifying things doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But I was thinking the other day, because I've avoided and we purposely avoid controversial, although this may be controversial when we talk about relationships, but we try to avoid religion and politics.
Yes, we do.
And one of the things that I was thinking about the other day, when I went back to, I actually posted something that was vaguely political, but the reason behind it was a couple, I don't know how long ago or when it started, but I realized that people in general have forgotten about the rules of engagement. So what are the rules of engagement? The rules of engagement, in my mind, are you can have a healthy debate and
Absolutely.
and maybe not agree at first, maybe not agree ever.
And that's okay.
But that doesn't give you a license to attack another person.
And we were just talking with Doc about the judgment thing. We can have an opinion. I mean,
if I don't agree with you, that doesn't mean I think you're a bad person.
no, just what I'm saying.
That's the judgment. That's the judgment part. If you pass judgment on a person's intent,
Right.
that's judgmental. Your opinion, which is what you said,
Right.
your opinion may not be the same, but that doesn't mean you should never be reduced to, and this is what leads to the but. So your opinion, if your opinion offends me, and I respond with, "I know you are, but what am I?" which is the most basic way I can express it. Meaning now it's your name calling. Your mother's ugly, and she dresses you funny, or whatever. That now the disagreement or the difference of opinion is totally out the window. The original subject of the debate or the discussion now becomes an argument,
Right.
that leads to hurt.
And, I have to say by that, because I can remember when my older son was 18, we used to have a lot of long discussions and crazy topics. And we didn't always agree, but I would leave those discussions thinking, he gave me something to think about. Didn't mean I was going to change my opinion on what we were talking about, but it was perspective. It was food for thought. And I'll be honest, I love a great debate. I love a great conversation with somebody, even if we're not agreeing, as long as, and it may not change anything, but as long as there's an understanding there and someone truly wants to listen, I think it's okay. We have to be a little different from one another. If we surround ourselves with the right people, their differences can also help us to be a better person as well.
Well, different viewpoints can enrich your life.
Absolutely, they
Expand
can.
your horizons.
It is.
And you should always be willing to at least listen.
Yeah.
And before you make a decision on anything, it should be an informed decision, not a decision that somebody else told you to make. It's different when you're a child and you're told to look both ways before you cross the street. Well, and if you don't look both ways before you cross the street, your guardian or someone who's responsible for your welfare at that point, because you're not an adult,
Right.
is going to grab your hand and pull you back and say, "Look, don't do that." It's like touching a hot stove or boiling water or fire, which reminds me of the time I lit the backyard on fire. That's a whole nother show. But when you get to be an adult,
You know what? When you're an adult, I don't know if it's so much blame. I think there's underlying issues. I think it's projection a lot of times. Maybe when you're a kid, it's blame. Maybe when you're an adult, it's projection. It's fear. It's insecurity. I'm not saying I don't feel like putting blame on somebody once in a while or blaming my kids on something, but I also look at it that there is no blame, take my accountability. If they didn't do something in the house I told them to do, I'm not going to blame them for not doing it. I'm going to take the accountability that I didn't stand over them and say, you're going to do it right now. That's my accountability in it.
but when they become adults, you shouldn't have to have that conversation.
No.
And maybe you do have to continue to have that conversation because age does not make you an adult. A level, and maybe adult is the wrong word, maybe maturity. You have to reach a level of maturity, and you encounter people every day of your life, whether by design or not, that are not on the same level as you.
And
that's when things break down. And you get to that point where things become hurtful, and you have to decide whether that relationship, no matter what it is, if you had a bad experience at the store, you want to give them another chance, you go back to the store.
Or go to another cashier. There it is. You don't put yourself back in the same position. You go to somebody else, go to another store. It's just the blame thing. I can laugh because I'll tell you, since I've been a kid, I get blamed for everything. Sometimes I'll say, I can just be sitting on my front porch and somebody will say, oh, that tsunami over across the world, you had a hand in that somewhere. I'm always amazed sometimes because I'm by no means a perfect person, but I am forever the optimist, and I'm always trying to figure things out. I'm always trying to understand everybody's behaviors and find reasons for it. And that's something I'm working on, that I can't do that. Everything begins with you, which means it begins with me. All your stuff begins with you. And, I just think the blaming thing, like we say all the time, anything negative is not going to bring a positive. When you try with the positive, and I am going to say hopeful, romantic, always the optimist. And I just saw a comment from Nadine. Hi, Nadine. Yeah, never say never, because you don't know. You don't know where life's taking you. We don't always understand why things are happening. And sometimes, even if difficult things are happening, it might be happening to lead us to a better place within ourselves. It may be a situation that's forcing us to look within ourselves and figure out what we're doing, or what accountability, or what do we need to do. It's just my thoughts. Got any other comments?
The 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 blame. The I don't know if what comes first, butt or blame. Right? I mean, it's
I think the three of them today truly are one and the same, because if you're blaming and it's projection, it's BS.
okay.
And if you're using the but to negate something positive someone's doing, that's BS as well. I think the three of them tie in very well together.
The butt and the blame are maybe doesn't matter what order they come in, but it seems like, wasn't that a Van Morrison song? A Brand New Day. But comes when there's blame. So if you blame me for something, my response, my defensive response is going to include a but. And maybe I haven't thought it out. Maybe I was surprised. Maybe I didn't think about it. So when you put me on the defensive, I'm going to say something like, wow, I didn't know you felt that way, but here's my position.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not the same as taking accountability for my offense. However I offended you, whatever I did to offend you,
Mm-hmm.
if I think about it, and, we talk about accountability, the but negates my accountability. Or I'm not really being accountable if there's a but.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You blame me, but then I blame you.
Yeah, nothing good is coming out of that. And
And that's where
that's called a stalemate, and you've hit your wall. There's just no coming back. And that's sometimes when you have to walk away from a conversation and take 24 hours, maybe,
or a weekend,
24 days, whatever you got to take.
24 months.
It's just, I'm here to tell all of you, I've gone through a lifetime of being blamed. There's a lot of blame in my first marriage and a lot of reasons why, only to find out it really wasn't on me. But I can tell you, it damaged my self-esteem like no one's business. It broke my heart, broke my spirit, but really the self-esteem was the kicker. It took me years to come back from all that blame and terrible words that were said at that time. And that's why I'm trying so hard to tell any of you listening that you're human if you blame somebody once in a while, right? It's a human thing.
Sure.
Once in a while, but come back from it and say, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. This is how I was feeling when I said it. Because it's very difficult when your psyche is damaged, and it takes a lot to heal it. And you can heal it. You can. I think that's where accountability, that's constructive. It's helpful. It's apologetic. There's healing with accountability. There's communication. There's moving forward. it proves that there's hope for what you're trying to repair or change for the better.
So moving, in order to move forward, and in order to progress, you have to stop repeating the same behavior. The behavior has to change.
Right.
If you're going to take accountability and, excuse me, you're going to be sorry. If you're truly sorry and contrite, that means doing your best. Nobody's perfect, but doing your best not to repeat the behavior. If you're having the same argument again, or been guilty, if you resolve something and you feel personally, dodged a bullet there. Good. Safe. Safe at home. Safe at first. Safe at second.
Call me a simple girl. This is a tough show to do today. It's just why people just can't get along, why everybody can't accept responsibility. Doc and I were just talking about Trent Shelton, that we love that man. He's an inspirational speaker. He's all over social media, and he has been through his own stuff, and I guess we're living your best life is a little like Trent Shelton. We're trying to say we've been through the experience. This is what you have to do. He did a beautiful video I saw yesterday about it's okay to struggle. And I think to myself, maybe I'm simple thinking that if we keep all the emotions positive, there's always time to heal. Even though, yes, there's grief and sadness in the world, there's all those things. But it's trying to find the positive, keep the positive and move forward positively,
You want to, if you want to live your best life, you said it before, it starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you run into a brick wall, and it's how do you avoid the buts? You avoid the buts by being kind. Well, what are one of the things about kindness that we try to remember? Well, it's not just doing something for somebody without expecting anything in return. It's also about being aware of what's around you, situational awareness. And in this case, we're talking about our interaction with others. Being aware or looking really close and listening to what's going on with that person before you get offended, before you react, before things escalate to the point where there's a but. I'm sorry, but.
I don't like that.
You hurt me.
I don't like that.
You can't get to that point. If you're continually getting to that point and you're not avoiding the buts, then you're not learning, you're not living your best life.
No, because everything does, if someone says to me, I don't like the way I'm living, I don't like how I'm feeling, okay, that's step one. What can you do? Not what can I do? What can you do to change that? We can only change ourselves. You can support another person, you can be there for them, but they have to first and foremost want a different life, or if they don't want to feel a certain way, there's steps, whether it's going to therapy or whatever they have to do. And I am a big believer that therapy is a great thing for people. I do. I think it's confirmation that you're on the right path, or it's just admitting that you can't figure something out, or you did figure something out about yourself and you want to know how to get past it because you're having a difficult time getting past it alone, on your own. I see no shame in that. And, Nadine, my friend Nadine from high school, had asked me to do some, because it's, right, Nadine, is she still on there? I know it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and she had asked me to just bring that into light this month. And I think people are shamed when they feel oh, you have depression or you have this or you have that. And this is what Trent Shelton was saying the other day too. Everybody has a struggle. And I think recognizing it is your first step. Wanting to do something to help it is your second step. And the third step is surrounding yourself with people that you can trust, that are there to support you while you do the work to try to get through. She's still on there.
It's hard to say.
So many people think it's
If you
oh boy.
you don't, if you're broken like that, I'm sorry to tell you, your interaction with other people should be limited to very basic things. And I think, well, I don't think, I know that if you have those kinds of issues and you're involved with somebody who has the same kinds of issues, it's a disaster. And whether it's self-esteem, whether it's depression, whether it's
Anything.
anything that prevents you from being your best self and being confident in yourself, because this is where the breakdown is. And it doesn't matter, you, me, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't take it or listen and not be offended or reactive, then you know what? We're not compatible.
And I think there's two theories going there, because I'm going to say that if both people have the same thing, it could be, depending on the people, a better way to heal, a better understanding, because and everything comes out different in each person. But what I'm saying is, it's either not going to, exactly what you said, it's going to be like, just like that, bam. Or it could be something that if there's mutual understanding, but still the bottom line is, you can't fix each other together. You have to want to do the work on your own. You have to want to feel better for you first and foremost, not for the other person, not for anybody else but you, because that makes you live your best life. That makes you your best sense of self. We all have something. And, I'll admit on here today, years ago, I was diagnosed with PTSD. It was after my first marriage. It was a lot of abuse and violence, and every so often it crops up, and I understand that. I took medication for it many, many years ago, probably, I don't even know, 15 years ago. I don't anymore, which is fine, but I didn't want to feel that way, which is why I went and I did therapy every week. And I try to tell people I wasn't ashamed I had it. It was caused by a terrible situation. I came out of it stronger. I'm understanding with anybody else that should have it or going through depression or anything like that, because I understand. I was not weak. It was a situation that caused that. A lot of times things are genetic, or a situation happens that just, bam, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, and it all comes out. There is no sign of weakness. I find the weakness in not wanting to heal and not wanting to get the help because you're afraid. And that's fear-based. Once again, there's the fear-based thing. You're afraid to face what's actually going on. But isn't it more fearful to live in a way that you don't like feeling than to know why you are? I mean, isn't it more fearful to wonder what is going to happen to you in your life, what your family, your friends, your relationships? I'm a need to know girl. And many, many years ago, yeah, at first I was like, oh, great, PTSD, but I had 5 kids to take care of, and I didn't want to feel like that. And I didn't want to have the anxiety, and I did what it took, and it was a long haul. It was a lot of work going to therapy every week to do that. But I first and foremost did it for me. Secondly, of course, I did it for my children because I wanted to be the best person I could be in spite of that and do what needed to be done to heal.
If you've ever been around an animal, a horse, a dog, that you try to pet, um, a horse is probably, in my mind, sticks out. They're hand shy. So when you put your hand up to their head, they throw their head back. Well, they've been abused.
Right.
And it takes a special person. Some people call them horse whisperers or dog whisperers or cat whisperers. I don't know about snake whisperers, but
Yeah, to heal them.
in order to relate to them, you have to be more giving. If you have the same issues, well, you're going to put your hand up with a gentle intention, and the horse is going to throw its head back, and you're going to jump because you're scared too. Well, that doesn't help either of you. And then, rather than either you or the horse admitting that you're both scared, you're going to start blaming. That's where the blame comes in. Well, I thought you were going to hit me. I thought you were going to hit me. Well, I'm sorry, but. And there you go.
I was going to hit you, but I didn't. Start with the negative.
Yeah.
But I think that, I'm just in a place today. I really wanted to do this show. I thought it was important to do. I just think it's one of those stop the madness, stop the roller coaster. I want to get off. Let's just everybody take a breath, and anybody, feel free to call in today if you're listening or to leave us some comments. Jonathan's kind of watching on the computer, forgetting any comments. The world's got to lighten up. There's so much going on out there, and a lot of people are going through a lot of things, and I don't want anybody to feel that there's no hope and there's not a light at the end of the tunnel, because Trent Shelton said yesterday, the light at the end of the tunnel that you're looking for is you. And it's a great statement. It's because he's right. Maybe life will change dramatically. Maybe it won't. Maybe life will change for the better, no matter what the outcome is.
Life is you're gonna end up at the place in life that you were meant to be in, whether you like it or, well, hopefully you'll like it, but you can't force it. But it does start with you. It ends, or the madness ends, or if you want to get off the merry-go-round and you want to simplify, you got to realize it starts with you. So you can't blame anybody, because if you're going to keep blaming somebody, it is all BS.
What's her new comment?
You're not gonna change it by being angry or by returning in kind, and making excuses by you're making excuses.
Hi, Lori Hartman. How are you?
And hey, Lori.
Who else we have on there?
Making excuses for either someone else's behavior or your own behavior. You're going to get nowhere, and the relationship is going to flatline, and all the good that was ever in the relationship is going to be forgotten, and you're going to be left with trauma.
And that's the thing with PTSD. It is trauma. And Nadine put a nice comment up. It's riding the waves. Everything comes in waves. You know, you could have a great day, and usually with PTSD, because I do know a lot about it, it something triggers it. It could be, and it's not the same for everybody. And all it is based off of is a traumatic experience you went through. And if you've had a life where you've never had a traumatic experience and you've reached our age and we're in our 50s, and that's as much as I'm going to say, then you've really had a pretty good life. And because all of us have gone through something traumatic, all of us.
We are well into our 50s.
Don't say how well in there we are. You're giving it all away. I'm just saying, why can't everybody understand one another or try to, or at least if you can't understand, have the compassion that you can, if someone's really losing it in front of you and
Don't throw gasoline on the fire.
yeah, and maybe it can't always be expressed the way the other person needs to hear it. But somebody's trying to tell you, I'm immobile at the moment, or I can't do this at the moment, or I'm having this emotion at the moment. The other person may not be, they may want more of an explanation. Sometimes they're not possible. But have the compassion, and if you really, have the compassion for any human being to say, all right, backing off, I don't get it, but all right, if that's what you say. And that's where the compassion comes in. And it's just being kind to one another. We don't all carry the same trauma that each of us has, or the same heartaches, heartbreaks, situations, but we can come together to support one another and make a difference in each other's lives, even if it's just by private messaging for 2 hours through social media with somebody that you just want to chat with that you can't get on the phone with, or by doing anything like that.
The way we all
comments.
the way we all get there.
Life happened. That's how we get there. Life happened.
But we exposed ourselves, and we were
vulnerable.
We were vulnerable. Somebody wrote something this week that I saw that I was really surprised at. It wasn't a meme. It wasn't something that was copied. And if it wasn't an original thought, they made it their own by not copying it, but by actually retyping it. I don't know how else to say it.
It wasn't me, was it?
No, it wasn't you. I would tell you.
I try not to do that.
They said that being vulnerable is part of intimacy. There you go again. Being vulnerable is part of intimacy, if not one of the most important parts of intimacy. So you start out circling and evaluating. And when you feel in a good place or you're comfortable, you open up and you become vulnerable. Well, that vulnerability is a trust. And when you think about,
it's a trust that you're safe to be everything that you are. You're safe to be up and you're safe to be down. You're safe to be honest.
You're safe to be open and honest.
Open and honest, and that's.
And you're.
Man, this show could go on for 2 hours today. I'm telling you.
It could. But you're. But you're safe.
But it won't.
When you feel safe with somebody, and you listen. And I was thinking, I was talking to you about this the other day. When you know somebody's life history, and you file it away, every detail, and you really listen because you had those walks on the boardwalk, or you had those walks on the beach or in the woods, um, or sat on a bench in a park and talked, or you stayed up all night talking and listening. Well, that's probably the closest and the most intimate you will ever get to another person. And I personally thought of someone's history going back to when they were a child.
Oh, yeah.
But yet, when push came to shove, I betrayed that trust. And here's how. And this is something too, but I don't know if we have time. We don't have time for this today. I did it by taking that knowledge and using it against them. And to be fair, they responded in kind and used things they knew about me against me. And that's where the blame comes in, the buts come in, because then immediately you're sorry. If you're not immediately sorry, you know pretty soon that you screwed up. Now, you can either fix it right away, stop everything, if it means that much to you, and address it.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with an apology that's not accompanied by a but. It's not, I'm sorry, but.
It's facing yourself. It's facing, and everything always comes back to the fear
accountability.
thing.
It's
accountability. And sometimes accountability, we're facing the fear of what we did. And we don't want to accept that, but
Not just fear of what you did, it's what you
fear
did
of the,
to somebody else.
what you did to somebody else, fear of what the outcome will be, fear of all that. Well, this fear thing, I've got a few things of my own that I'm working on where fear is concerned. And like I said, I'm a work in progress, just like everybody else is. So I'll sit here today and tell you, I've realized a few things about myself in the last couple of days that I am going to be working on trying to change. And it will make me a better person and have better, well, I don't even want to say better friendships, because my friendships are okay. You're okay.
Thanks.
You're all right. But I know I need to do it for me, not with an outcome that I'm looking for, but I need to just do it for me. And I think,
Is it living your best life?
I'm living the best life I can today.
Okay.
I
So-
might be living a better life
Tomorrow.
next, like Nadine was saying, with everything the waves of change, everything in life comes in waves. And I think, if I can say anything to anybody out there today, if you've been guilty of the buts, the blames, and the BS, you can stop the madness. You can take it back. You can understand. And like I said in the beginning of the show, I hoped by the end of the show, you'd hear how hurtful these things are, especially when it's, and I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's somebody that's suffering with PTSD or depression or any of those things. For the love of God, people, isn't the world cruel enough? I mean, spread the kindness, have some compassion, understand that you're not the only person going through something. There's a lot of people in this world going through a lot of things, and some things worse than what you are. But for heaven's sake, I mean, you look at social media with all these negative things on there, and I think to myself, do you really want to be that person? We all need to stick together. We all need to help one another. We all need to be there to help one another heal. It's time. It's enough of this butt, blame, and BS, because I've had enough of the butt, blame, and BS. I want more of better. I don't want negative. I want healthy things. And I want people to be in my corner, too, when I'm going through something. And I think if we just listen to one another, and even if you don't understand what they're going through, be compassionate that they're being honest and vulnerable enough and truthful enough to tell you that, because they are hurting and they trust you that they can say they are. and they don't want you to hurt them even more on top of it. And I guess that's kind of what I'm saying today. So,
if you want to be kind to people, if you want to be, if your intention is to be a better person and to live your best life, be kind to one another. Don't use the trust that's been given you against anybody. Don't ever tell anybody when you get frustrated something like, you need help, because that's just wrong. They may need help, but that's not the way to say it. And if you remember anything, you want to nip it in the bud. You don't want to ever get to the but, blame, and BS.
no, you don't. And, when you're going through a rough time, don't you appreciate someone's time, their kindness, their understanding? They're not judging. They're not pointing a finger. They're just saying, okay, what do you need me to do? Do you want me to just leave you be? What do you want to do? Do you appreciate that? Well, other people would appreciate that. I know I would appreciate that sometimes, because we all need that. We're human beings with souls. And like the saying you see all over social media, be kind. You don't know what anybody else is going through. Everybody, the world has been a crazy place. So I'm going to tell everybody out there, I hope you listen today. And believe me, this show was not with judgment or with malice. It was just trying to make a difference to everybody and to show you the damage these three negative things can do. So please, you can stop. If you are being that way, the choice is yours. Today, it can stop today. It can be different today. Make a change today. Do what you have to do. And it can be right now, right at this moment. And now on that note, I'm going to let Jonathan say goodbye, and then I'm going to wrap this up.
What's behind us doesn't matter. You try to be a better person today, and if you're fortunate enough to have a tomorrow, then wake up and plan that day to be a better day. And stop, take a deep breath. Don't react. Don't take yourself that seriously. And put yourself in the other person's shoes before you get offended, and realize that even if you didn't mean it, don't think or presume or tell anybody how to feel. Respect them. I'm done.
Are you done?
Nah.
Go ahead, you can finish up. Doc will let us go over. We got time.
I just don't want, or I would like to see people just
Be kind.
get along.
That's
and not be mean.
And that's not a funny saying. Why can't everybody just get along? Because it infuriates me, because sometimes I think I'm too optimistic, too soft, too easygoing, too this, too that. I can see there's certain things I have to change. So I can see things I have to change for me that are better. But I'm never going to stop being that girl that will be there for anybody. I won't. I have a lot of compassion, and I don't even have to be in the same situation somebody's in to understand when somebody's in pain or they're hurting. And it's a terrible place to be, but the best place when you are going through something difficult is to just have that feeling that someone is there to catch you and make sure you're safe. It's a good feeling when you're going through an extremely rough time, no matter what it is, that there is that one person or those couple of people that no matter what, they're there to help you. I mean, we're all there to do that for each other, everybody. I mean,
we all can be.
We all can be. We can all be understanding and kind and considerate and everything, but we all have to want to do that. And that's what living your best life is. I want everybody to live their best life. I want to live my best life as well. And I think we can truly all have that. And I think the more good stuff we put out in the world, the kinder we are, the gentler we are to one another, I think we can change this entire world. I really do. And I'm hoping I'm doing something good one show at a time by what we do every week. And on that note, I have a song I wrote called What Now? Doc is going to play it with you, and I want you to remember, it's got some great lyrics. I wrote it a couple years ago. I know where I've been, not where I'm going, but I'm dancing along. Thanks for joining Living Your Best Life to all of you. Wishing you a wonderful day, and be kind. Be kind to one another, and we will see you next week.
See you.
Journey is over. The battle is won. A new chapter started. A new day begun. So what do I do now? Where do I start? Do I take the road known or the one less traveled? Follow my heart. Life is always changing. It's time to turn the page. The story continues, and it's mine to create. So what do I do now? Where do I go? Do I let my mind lead me backwards in time? Move ahead slow. What now with a new beginning? What now with the old life behind? What now that I'm starting over? With no clue, no reason, no rhyme. It's time to change my thinking. It's time to lose the fear. The universe is watching. That's what brought me here. It's all an adventure.